Yeah, back on the road. Against an Ole Miss team who has figured things out over the last three games. Two of which on the road. Um, very talented roster. Three, three guys that are going to play professionally at some level. With Dia and Store and Cameron, all really talented, prolific scorers. So you know, defensively, we got to be really good in this game because they have a lot of really good one-on-one players. Offensively, we got to do a great job of executing and sharing the ball. So, great opportunity against a team that's ahead of us in the standings. So, take any questions.
You said you felt like Ole Miss has figured some stuff out. What kind of stands out to you about these last few games? Because, like you said, they've picked up a couple of pretty impressive wins here recently.
Yeah, they're like I think if you watched early in the year, I think coach was looking to get more of an identity defensively, and I think they've established that a little bit. And their 2 point defense has gotten a lot better. They do a great job of just swarming to the basketball and creating turnovers on penetration or anytime there's an offensive rebound. They do a great job of stripping and ripping. Um, you know, I think Georgia shot or maybe 32 or 23% from two in that game, off of 21 offensive rebounds. So they do a really good job of just being active on all penetration, on all rebounds, and I just think they're playing harder, defensively, and um, they have the luxury of having three options offensively, that they can really feed and go to, and they have some really nice, accessory pieces that can come out there and, make tough shots. So I just think they're just getting more confident, playing with one another. They only have, Diaz obviously, um, their lone returning starter, and the rest of the guys are, newer pieces. So kind of like us, they're all figuring out how to gel, with one another, uh, play the game with one another. So I just think they're kind of they found a little bit of that, and got some confidence in it, and it's led to three straight wins against some good teams.
You kind of popped off the bench at Tahad early in that game when he forced a turnover and we're kind of fired up. How much do you look to him defensively? I know we talked about his shooting and assists and things like that, but defensively to kind of set the tone early in games, how much do you look to him?
Yeah, I mean, we did a lot of switching in the South Carolina game. We told our guards, you got to front the post, and if you get stuck behind the post, you better be physical because we're not giving you any help. And Tahad put an armbar on that kid and forced him out of bounds. So for me as a coach, that got me really amped up and really fired up. And I'm gonna react in that way when guys do what we ask them to do. So I was very pleased with it, and I thought just looking at the film, in the Missouri game, Tahad made 28 defensive mistakes. He made 8 in the South Carolina game. Cut his mistakes down by 20, which is phenomenal. So need more of that on the road, because like you kind of mentioned, he's our only returner on the defensive end, so he understands what we do more than the rest of them. So when he's out there doing the things that we're asking him to do, that then makes everyone else do the same. So I thought his effort defensively against South Carolina was really good.
Cameron Dean's a really interesting guy, being played in Europe for a while and 6'5" point guard. Just kind of what stands out about him to you and trying to line him up because he's a different kind of one that maybe y'all have seen here recently.
Yeah, he's not like going to blow by you with his speed and his quickness, but he can dribble either direction. He does a great job of setting up his drives with moves to kind of either get you up in the air or get you moving one direction. Does a great job of getting you on his hip, and then he's obviously got tremendous size to be able to score over the top of you. And he's he's their most willing passer, so he can score it. He can facilitate it. He can shoot it. So he just does a little bit of everything, and he plays it with such great pace and such great tempo. He never gets sped up, and that's something that an experienced point guard is going to be able to bring to the table. And they only average 7.6 turnovers per game, and for him setting the table every possession offensively, that speaks to his ability and his maturity. So um, he does a really good job for him, and he's not what you typically see in our league, right? You usually are so used to seeing these quick, fast, athletic point guards that can really get downhill, and he does it in different ways. So, um, you know, we're gonna have to do a good job on him because he does a lot of really good things for him on the offensive end.
Ted had a great note in his notes about Jovic being an incredibly efficient scorer. We all see it. Are we at a point now in the season where he can start being someone you can rely on, start running stuff for him? I mean, the game he had against South Carolina was crazy. Can he be that guy kind of going forward? Do you think of him as a scorer?
Sounds like your notes were a hit. Good job. It's awesome. Ted asked me, he said, "Do you think they'll read these?" And I said, "I hope so." So good job, JG. I'm proud of you. Yeah, it was interesting because we've been doubled a lot in the post this year, so it's been really hard to feed him in there because if they're going to rotate over with two 6'10s, he kind of loses his advantage. South Carolina went one-on-one in the post, and he did a great job. So if teams are going to continue to play us one-on-one in the post, or him specifically one-on-one in the post, absolutely, because you saw how physical he was and how he did such a good job of using shot fakes and scoring on angles. So yeah, if teams are going to guard him one-on-one in the post, but even if they don't, he does a good job passing it too. So it was really good to see that, his ability to score around the rim and, do different things because it's definitely something that, when he's in the game, we need to look at because he's scoring it at such a high rate around the rim. He leads the SEC in offensive rating since SEC play began. So, we got to we got to continue to feed that because he's playing with a lot of confidence right now and it's been effective. So, yeah, to answer your question, we're definitely going to look to get Phillip more touches when he gets in the game. Yeah, I hated that three. And here's the deal: like, there's other areas in the offense where I want Phillip to shoot it, but that play specifically, and I'm glad you brought that up because Murph has done it a couple times this year too. That play specifically, that's a bad shot because we have no rebounding position. On that play, our 3 and our 4 are standing on the wings, and they're not there to rebound. So for us, the reason why we've been such a good offensive rebounding team so far this year is when we take shots out of our offense, we have rebounders in place on purpose to be able to bail you out if you miss those shots. And anytime we take shots out of the offense with no rebounding position, that's what we consider a bad shot in our offense, and that was a bad shot. Now, we had to give him a little grace because he was playing well, he was feeling it, but Murph had just taken that shot, and Phillip shot it and immediately said, "I'm sorry." So, he knew pretty quickly that I was going to say something to him. But yeah, that wasn't a great shot. But that's something that we want Phillip to add to his game. As he continues to grow and mature, because he's capable of doing of knocking that down.
Going off that, besides that one, did you feel like you guys had pretty good shot selection, didn't force it kind of as much as you did against Missouri? That was just a matter of them not going down?
Yeah, we had a couple bad ones. Tahad had 2 in the first half that we didn't love, and he recognized that right away. KO had 1 in the second half. But besides that, I thought, KO had the one that he shot in transition before he made it was a really good shot. Elijah had a lot of really good looks. Key had every 3 he took was really good and clean looks. The bad one, Murph had a bad one. Phillip had a bad one. Tahad had a bad one. KO had a bad one. But 14 of the 3s that we shot, I thought were really clean and good looks, and those are shots that we want our guys to take and have confidence to take. We just didn't knock them down, but for us to be able to draw on some experience of being able to grind out a game like that, that's really important because we're going to do it again at some point this year.
Going into this week, you got 2 road games. Is there any different message to them? You've obviously Arizona's road, Purdue's like a road game. You've played 2 league road games. So any message to them in terms of, hey, remember what you've sort of been through and take it into this week, or just don't really bring that up, or how do you approach this week?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always trying to figure out, is there different things that we should be doing on the road as opposed to at home? So that's something that, as a coach, you're always kind of trying to figure out. But yeah, I think drawn to, in the Georgia game, we just didn't defend. We executed really well offensively. We didn't defend. Missouri, I thought we defended, but we didn't execute offensively. So, we got to find a middle ground here where we're defending and executing. So, I think if we do a good job of just paying attention to what we're talking about, because, they're really talented, but I think there's things that we can do that, can bother him, and we got to do the things necessary that they're really good at to not let it bother us. So, yeah, I don't know. It's tough because you don't want to change up your routine too much, but at the same time, we got to find a way to change something on the road. So, we're kind of exploring on some things that we might change up in our preparation. But I think for us, more importantly, it's about kind of drawing to what we did do well and didn't do well in the two previous SEC games, and how we got to avoid those things. But it all starts with we just got to be the more excited team to play. If we do that, it cleans up a lot of the stuff, a lot of the silly mistakes that we may have made in those first two SEC road games.
What did you see on defense from that South Carolina game? You feel like you guys can build on, going into a game against Ole Miss where they have, that variety of weapons that they do?
Yeah, I thought we just, we did a good job, just with our switches, and thought our guards did a good job of being physical. And for the most part, we executed some of the specifics in the scouting report that we thought were important in that game. But we had to show all the things that we may have when we made mistakes, like if we offered too much help off of Michi Johnson, or if, like Phillip had the wrong foot up a couple times guarding Michi, letting him drive it downhill right, like we did that like 4 times. Like, we can't do that, so like different stuff like that we got to continue to just kind of work on and build off of. But I thought our gap presence was really good. I thought they saw bodies on penetration, which is what we really wanted to focus on. So thought we took a step back a little bit on the rebounding side. Part of that was long shots, long rebounds, but we got to finish possessions. And it hurts when one of your best rebounders wasn't out there for a majority of the game. But I thought we made some strides in our half-court defense, and did a good job of getting stops when our offense wasn't going.
Bit of an unrelated question. I know you're focused on this season, but just want to get your thoughts on what Dylan Cardwell has been doing in the league. I mean, undrafted guy, and he's sort of making his money there, doing what he did here. Energy, defense, things like that. Just your thoughts on what he's been doing the past 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, we get daily updates in our coaches group chat on just like what our guys are doing in the pros, and every night you just see like 24 minutes, 10 points, like 6 rebounds, 2 blocks, and it's just like, I mean, he's getting 10 or 12 points in the NBA. We didn't do a very good job of getting Dylan the ball, if he's scoring it like that. So not surprised at all, like at all. We all knew collectively as a staff that like of that whole team last year, and this isn't like a knock on anyone on our team, Dylan was the most fit to be a pro just because he was elite at something that NBA clubs are always looking for. And like NBA teams are going to have 2 or 3 stars. They're looking for guys that are elite in their roles, and Dylan Cardwell is elite in his role. He's an elite finisher in the air. He's an elite rebounder, and he's one of the best defenders I've ever seen. So all those things combined, like, he's going to be able to play for just about anybody at that level, because they're always looking for bigs that can move their feet, block shots, and catch one around the rim and finish off offensive rebounds. So just not surprised, proud of him. I think one of the coolest thing about it, though, is like they're embracing Dylan as like who he is, like in his personality, and that's something that I think allows Dylan to play with such confidence and courage, is that when he's able to be his true authentic self, he's able to kind of do the things that he does on the floor so effectively. And I think that community as a whole and that organization has embraced it and welcomed it with open arms, and he's just thriving. So really proud of him, really happy for him, but not surprised at all, because we knew how capable Dylan was. Thanks, guys.